The Bajam then the Shensia Wanda Jama Yanda Bazo Mesa Rivada Shasun Devan Devare Shevanji then Jamba Javande Kalo Javala Meba Hada Menam Jedum Sanjation then Bejawa Shaja Dama Sasa Mochedo Jazu Javon the Mahajam then the Shensia Rajamba Yanda Bazo Sanje Rivada Shasun Devare Jiten Jamba Javon Deva Kalo Javala Meba Menam Jedum Sanje Jumden de Bejawa Shaja Dubala Sasa Mochedo Jazu The Ma Jumden and the Shensia Dajamba Yanda Bazo Sanje The Vareshavan Jiten Jamba Javon Deva Kalo Javala Tada Menam Jedamba Sanje Jumden de Bejawa Shaja Shazano Chedo Jazu Chia Kanse Kanye Zo Chadam Se Sajen Trina Kumba Dimbo Nane Jiten de No Jojo Tese Keva Jama Namda Bunga Chodo Susawa Yishi Jazu Sejo Lombo Tawa Jiten Suma Wombo Chonye Jama Chaz Senja Dema Chimenda Sendo Nawa Jama Chaz The regional Seva Suma Janyame Jenja Jama Chaz and Wombo Duji Tamje Jama Dumba was one of your danger so Jen the Shenjama Chaz and Tabe Giving as one day to Jidu the Lamacho Shinju Jama Chaz Chene Chura Lanya de Lava Dala the Shinga Tamaya then they get them on The Vajaya Misha Gavapazo Soba Ranga Senayo Tene Sanje Dembayi Karmara Rima Meta Jumasa Melam Loda Dinda Bandiji Chanam de Derada Sonam Dia Kovanda Nejin Adu the Gadana the Shiva Love to be Sibeso the Wonder Waresho
To the teacher, the blessed one, the one beyond, the full destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of beings to attain, teacher of gods and humans, to you the completely and fully awakened, the blessed one, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate and make offerings in hope for refuge. To the teacher, the blessed one, the one beyond, the full destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, Sugata, the Lord of the world, supreme guide of angels contained, teacher of gods and humans, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the blessed one, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate and make offerings in hope for refuge. To the teacher, the blessed one, full destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the blessed one, glorious conqueror, subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate and make offerings in hope for refuge. When O supreme among humans, you were born in the first, you paced out 7 strides and said, I am supreme in this world. To you who are wise men, I prostrate. With pure bodies formed supremely pure, wisdom motion like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, universe, to you I prostrate. With the supreme signs, face like spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. You are immaculate, the 3 worlds are not. Incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the teacher having moral understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean. To you, the one gone to dustness, I prostrate. The purity which makes one free from attachment, the virtue which frees one from the lower realms, the one path, the sublime pure reality. To that Dharma which pacifies, I prostrate. Those who are liberated and who also show the path to liberation. The holy field qualified with realization, who are devoted to the moral precepts. To you, the sublime community intending virtue, I prostrate. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions. Perform only perfect virtuous actions. Subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, mirage, a flame of oil, illusion, a drop of dew or bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, cloud. See conditioned things as such. Through these merits, may sentient beings obtain the right of all seeing, subdue the foe of false, and be delivered from motion of suffering, of aging, sickness, and death.
Sanje Chola Soje Chola Chandrakirti Dane Jasu Dage Jasu Jipesona. Rola Benje Sanje Druba Shua Sanje Chola Soje Chola. Chandrakirti Dane Jasu Dage Jasu Jipesona. Rola Benje Sanje Druba Shua Sanje Chola Soje Chola. Chandrakirti Dane Jasu Dage Jasu Jipesona. Rola Benje Sanje Druba Shua.
I go for refuge until I am to the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. Through the merit I created by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. Through the merit I created by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. Through the merit I created by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings.
Deja Shadan Demono, Buddha Dona Jumo, Duda Medu Chinjo, Temba Kundu, Kanda Duda Medu, Chinjo de Jumo, Tedara Shinde, Chinju, Dagi Union Minion, Chadabunya Tuba, Temenu Mumu, Union Minion Chada. Yumoteda Kangaya, Dea Tuba Yumaya, Gamepa de Kangaya, Yumopa, Ranutashi Yumono, Yumochan, Ranutashi Yumocha, Yumopa, Duda Medu Shinjo, Rashine de Yuman, Duda Medu Shinjo, Tenda Yumokanda, Sura Roda Riba. Chideshoda Nambrune, Shiden de Jashadon, Timokin, Yimbrata, Sura Roda Riba, Chideshoda. Chiseton Yada Buddha, Medium Melange, you made you what the Sonyenta, do what the Juma. Kala didn't do what she and Davaja Midoba, Dula Midu. Do what the Mania, Kala didn't Midoba, Davaja. Mido Mido Yemebe, the Jim Mido de Mania, do what you want, Yana, the Jayo. Mido you, Yana, Kedemeda Davaja, the Zabalonia, Dola Meda Yemebe, the Bachadaloma, Kedemeda Davaja, Dola Meda Pawashan, the Bach, Kamezan of the Gado, the Bobo. Tamjin Russia, the decisions about human in Lavoya, than you do the Bayo. Kala Chinjolo, Kala Chinja, Mama, Chinjolo, Chinjolo, the Mizu, the Chinjolo, the Chinjolo. Chinjolo, the Kujina, Chinjolo, the Mizu, the Kala Chinjolo, Sivadani, number 2, Chinjolo, Chinjolo, the Gemen, the Chinjolo, Kala, you are more than the Shena Given. Dada Shena Jam the Chinjolo, Keden Dada Zawa, the Tata, the way. Dada Zanda Daba, the Washington Roman, Keden Dada Zawa, the Tata. Dame Mezameda, the Dumayo, the Chinjolo, Mariba. Maringa Bajon, the Dujano, Gama, Kedela, Lenyo Mobakandara, Chichi, and the Chetapo. You have a suitable Kedela, Lenyo Mobakandara, Chichi, and the Chetapo, and Bebasuji. Change a lot of a shade on the Reduce, Jusumba, Kangi, Dona, Dinjo, women of the Duju, Sojo Sumba, Sanjeta, Chance. So, ground fifth. So, how to conquer Janka. So, how to conquer, how to defeat it. So the fifth ground, hard to conquer, this has two parts. The etymology, right? Etymology of the name of the fifth ground, and number two, the becoming superior in the meditative absorptions, mastering the truth. The first, the etymology of the name of the fifth ground. This great one on the ground of the hard to conquer, cannot be defeated even by the entire host of māras. So I think this should be known because of their kind of, power of the knowledge. So maybe there's, power of the knowledge cannot be misguided or misleaded. Even if it's kind of, so the fifth ground, Bodhisattvas, no possibility of mislead and misguide by any condition. Right? So I think this also shows the power of the wisdom that so the perfecting the concentrations, right? Through the knowledge, perfecting the concentrations. Therefore, this Bodhisattvas cannot be defeated by any so entire host of māras. The māra is just the kind of reference, because sometimes there's a story, historical, right after the Buddha Shakyamuni passed away by Nirvana. And then there are great arhats. So one of the arhat, arhat name, Napobas, as I did. So when he was giving a teaching, so Mara and they tried to kind of, when the Arhat was giving a teaching and explaining, when there's a quite number of the audience giving a teaching, and the Mara start to play kind of, a drama, music playing around there, and many people goes there. So this is how the Mara is trying to kind of, distract you, disturb you. And then one time also, so he deliberately go to the entertainment place, and then the Arhat offer the garland of flower. So when Mara wears the garland flower and he changed to his own, he could not disguise, and looks very bad. So he just disguised and very handsome and very the kind of, kind of what you call singing and dancing. So it's attracting a lot of people. So, and then there are many possible Bodhisattvas in the beginning of the Bodhisattva's ground, and sometimes there is a chances to misguide, misleaded, misunderstood, misbelieving somewhere, and they go kind of, they fall in how say nihilism or the extreme. So I think here like even in the ordinary people, we are very vulnerable that anybody knowledgeable can misguide us, mislead us, right? So that's why all this the politicians are very successful. And then the insurance companies and there's TV commercials. So we are every time they step on us, right? So so we thought there's something, right? So this is like defeated by the Mara, defeated the misinterpretation and the misguided, mislead by any information even sometimes looks valid, looks correct, right? But still, if you follow, and then it will lead you to the kind of end up in the suffering and discomfort, cause the suffering. So this Bodhisattvas, he has the fifth ground. He has perfected the meditations through the power of the wisdoms. Therefore, the fifth ground called hard to conquer. So the great one, this great one on the ground of hard to conquer cannot be defeated even by the entire host of māras. So the great one abiding on the fifth ground of hard to conquer, if he cannot be defeated even by the entire host of Mara, such as Devaputra residing throughout the world systems. Even Devaputra, he could lead whole world systems. This fifth ground of Bodhisattvas cannot be misguided. Even the whole world, right? So what need is there to speak of others such as the servant of the Mara under his command, right? So therefore this ground is named hard to conquer. The precious garland says the fifth is hard to conquer because it's so hard for all the Māras to subdue it. Because it is so hard for all the Māras to subdue. And here the mastering and understanding that arises on the settled point of the Arya truth, and so on. So now, what is that his kind of not the power of the knowledge that he gained through the perfecting the concentrations? And then he gained the knowledge through the perfecting the concentrations, understanding deeper, like settled point of the Arya truths, even the Four Noble Truths, the 16 attributes, the Four Noble Truths, and the true truth, conventional truth, and the ultimate truth. So deeply, very detailed, and very kind of the massive kind of logic, through the massive logic and thousands of reasoning, they understand, and very, very, so that's the kind of, the power of the knowledge that enabled him to not being defeated or conquered by any Māras. So therefore he is hard to conquer.
So yeah, even the Buddhist school of thought, Vaibhashika school, Sautrantika school, Minor school, and medieval autonomous school, the Prasangika school. So each school, they all kind of follow this Buddha's teaching, right? And they also meditate and contemplate. They gain some kind of the knowledge through the kind of analytical meditations and single point of meditation. So somehow, if your meditation, the understanding about the Four Noble Truths, coming from the Vaibhashika school point of view, there's something, right? There's something that you haven't completed yet. Some knowledge that is not really complete. For example, Vaibhashika school talks about the impermanence. So impermanence means for them things arises, things born and remain, age and die. So that's kind of how they understand impermanence. Right? Things born, remain, and start aging and then die. So these are the four characteristics of the impermanence. So this their understanding of the impermanence. Now, when it comes to the Sautrantika point of view about the impermanence, then Sautrantika school says, instant, the second you're born, that is the impermanent. That which seconds start to disintegrating. So there is no born and remain and aging and dying. So the second you're born, the very second, and the next second, that the first second is gone. So that is the impermanent. So that and then this particular the Sautrantika point of view, understanding impermanence, instantly disintegrating. Right? It's not just there is some kind of without being disintegrating, remaining and aging for a while, and still kind of sustain, and then at the end it will kind of die out. Right? So the Sautrantika school said no. Instant. Everything is instant disintegrating. So then Minor school, pretty much the same as Sautrantika school point of view in terms of understanding the impermanence. And then the Prasangika school says, so instant disintegrating. But the Sautrantika school thinks everything is instant disintegrating, but the minute and the hour, they do remain. The seconds are disintegrating, right? Right after it, right? The minute has quality of remaining for a while within the 60 seconds. The hour has a kind of the quality of remaining for 60 minutes. So it seems they think, they feel like minute has the quality, has the property of remaining during the 60 seconds. So the Prasangika school says there is no such minute. They remain with each seconds without being disintegrated. If the seconds are disintegrated, very second, the first second and the second, the minute also disintegrating. There is no, because minute is not different from the seconds. Hour is not different from the minute. If the seconds are changing, minute should be changing. Right. So, like the Prasangika Sautrantika school and Vaibhashika school, and then Minor school also think about the time. So that there is some kind of time has an intrinsic property. Right? Intrinsic property means the future, present, past. So future has its own property, and the present, and the future is coming towards the present. The present is the eventual goal path, which disintegrate. So the Sotadic school, mind-only school, autonomous school, they're all things. The past means disappearing, right? Become none, become nothing, become just annihilation. The cease to exist means for them is nothing. So the whole misunderstanding about the conditional phenomena, although they are very much, faithfully following the Buddha's teaching, and they contemplate, they gain knowledge, they get benefit to reducing or weakening the afflictive emotions. They're trying to subdue their mind, but the knowledge is incomplete. Right. So in the Prasangika school, maybe there's this. Your time is like, one person's coming from his village. Now he is going return to his village. So if the time is like that, the future is coming towards the present going into the past. So you are imagining, conceiving the time as one entity. They're just traveling, right? So I go from here to the Claremont, and then this St. Bernardino. So I am the only one. One person is going there, right? Here in Pomona, I am Tenzishira. When I go to the Claremont, I am Tenzishira. So myself. So people imagining time is like one entity that is a traveling, right? From the future to the present. So the Prasangika school says, in that case, why do you say 3 times? Right? Do you say when you are in Pomona, you are one, and when you go to the airport, you are another person, and then you come back again with another person, so you have 3 persons? No. So it's similar. If the time is traveling, which means time is the one independent entity. So then, if the independent entity, that should be permanent. So it should remain forever, because, right, it is only changing the event or the event, but itself always remains the same. So, Sotadic school, mind-only school, their understanding of the time is like, has the intrinsic property, the substantial. And then also they understand the past means become nothing. So the Prasangika school says, the past is not a nothing. It is the beginning of new thing. The past of the Sunday is the beginning of the Monday. When the Sunday passes, Sunday is not going to discontinue or dissipate, because it becomes the Monday. Right? When it becomes the Monday, it's not like Sunday is transferred to the state of Monday. No. But Sunday disintegrates, therefore Monday manifests. So Monday is the continuum of the Sunday. So in this way, there's a knowledge that is still in the progress. Right? So then like a 4th ground and the 5th ground also. The 4th ground has a special knowledge, the diligence through the power of the knowledge, and being able to understand the course level or the 7th point of the 37th path of the enlightenment. And here the 5th ground is gaining the knowledge to thorough understanding, most 7 meaning of the 4 noble truths and the true truth. So this is why this fifth ground with this kind of knowledge, now it makes him not being able to defeat it or misguide, mislead by any knowledge or intellectual. Right? Even the intellect is sprayed by the māras, the most powerful, worldly powerful māra. Right? So it's kind of in the firm convictions. So everybody has the very firm knowledge, even all peoples, human beings. So we don't see the, maybe it will prevent financial improvement. So not knowing is the field to make more money, right? But happier than less money. So, yeah, I think this is how, people still make money from the schools, university, technologies, right? Even the braid, different kind of braid, different color of the braid. So yeah, this is the precious garlands. The fifth is hard to conquer because it's so hard for all the māras to subdue it. Here, the mastery in understanding arises on the subtle point of Arya truths and so on. As far as its ripening effect, he will be king of the Tushita god. He undoes the content of the afflicted views crafted by all proponents of the extreme. So because of his kind of profound understanding of the Four Noble Truths and the truth. So so there's many for example, there is the kind of the philosophical point of view, which is trying to kind of the prove or establish the future is a substantial kind of substantial phenomena, saying that future is substantial. Future is kind of it has a substantial quality because every sentient beings has the Buddha, right? Every sentient beings has Buddha because of the nature of the mind, nature of the mind, which is the kind of which there you can see the Buddha. So you can see the Buddha. Now, this pretty much kind of, it kind of looks very, it's, when you say you are happy, right? Everyone has the Buddha. Now, if I say every dough, make the dough, right? When you make bread, the dough, every dough inside, there's the bread already. So you will be much happier. I don't have to cook. I just pull it out from the dough. just pull it out each. So I don't have to kind of make the fire there. Right? So, and you will say, oh, that doesn't make sense. It's not a common, right? So why do you think it makes sense if someone says, Buddha is in you? So what is the reason? right? If your future Buddha exists, right? Your future Buddha exists. If that exists, it has to be somewhere, right? So the somewhere is the you within you. So if the future Buddha exists, it has to exist in you. Right? So this logic can apply, you can say future braid is in this dough. So now the future braid, right, is within this dough. If this is not making sense, and the future Buddha is existing in you right now with you. So you can say today is Sunday, Monday is in Sunday. So this type, this is a very positive statement, but it has some kind of, the possibility of leading misinformation or misunderstanding. So then, if the future has no substantial property, it does not exist by itself, right? And how if the future does not exist, then what is the point of going to school, learning, doing business, right, and farming? So if future does not exist, again, it's pointless. So future should exist. Future should exist, but not exist by itself, like waiting there. Can I come? Can I come now? Come now. No. So in this, so the future exists means now Prasangic school, the understanding the existence is being knowable is the existence. Right. So being knowable for existence. The future is knowable because by reflecting on the causes and the conditions, you can know this may come, right? By reflecting on the barley seed and their assembly of the cause and the condition, and the farmers do see there is the harvest. So I can work hard in the field, so I can I can have a good harvest, and then I can make money. So beginning with someone who is studying the business, they also say, if I invest this much, right, so I can get this much. So they see the future through the present. So the future is existing, is depending upon the present. Right? And it exists where it exists. It exists by itself. It exists somewhere. No. It does not exist, but somewhere kind of locatable. It exists in your mind because it can be known to the mind. It is a knowable object to the mind. So in this way, the future exists. And it's similar, the past is also exists. So like a future, and because the past and the future is existing is the, true it's like a mental construct. There's some basis to be construct. There's some basis to be, the conceptually construct, right? So if the future and the past is just through the mental projection, it exists. And the question is, if the future and the past is conceptually exists, it exists as an abstract, right? So, and how about the present? That has become the basis for the past and the future that exist. The present also conceptual concept phenomena. Present seems to is remaining, it's steady, staying, but and what the remaining or the staying, and what do you call through what language do you use? You say instant, right? Or moment, or period, or a day, right? A week, you say. So this whole first instant is kind of imputed based on past. Something instantly changes. Something instant disintegrates. So you say that is the instant. And then 2, 3, 5 of the past, and then kind of how's that? Based on maybe 2, 3, 5 past and 2, 3, 5 coming. So all together, and you project, oh, there's a remaining, there's a present. This is how we see the day is being present. Today is the present. So the present is, constructed based on past and the future. Right? So more you get closer and closer, what you can find is only past and the future, things that not yet come, things only disintegrate. So this is the Prasangika school understanding of the, more settled way of understanding of the impermanence. So who do not understand this kind of impermanence, and then they always tend to think that future is non-existing, past is non-existence. It ceases to exist, not exist. Only the present exists. So if things exist, has to be exist in the present. So again, they go contradict themselves. So future does not exist. If the future does not exist, why do you send your kid to school? Their future does not exist, right? So yeah, this is the, the Mara or host of Mara cannot be defeat them. They're pointing at their understanding, deeper understanding of the reality, dependent originations. And there's the content of the views, the proponents of the extremes of this. So the proponents of extreme, that includes from the Prasangika school point of view, proponent of extreme, Sodatika, Mahayana, Vavashika, and non-Buddhist school, including scientists, proponents of the extreme. So becoming superior in the meditative absorptions and the mastering the truth. Excelling in the meditative absorptions and in the truth of wise, he gained the mastery and the refined understanding as well. Losan Dera Shins. So Lodru Sambom, he's become wise, and then so wisely in Tibetan, Losan Dera Shins. Losan means the wise, right? And wisely positive. He always remain wisely positive because of his understanding, the profound understanding of the Four Noble Truths and the True Truths. On this fifth ground, among the 10 perfections, it is the perfection of the meditative absorptions that one comes to excel in. seeing as the Bodhisattvas had previously become superior in the first four perfections, generosity up to the diligence. It is easily understood that the point of the reference here must come from among the remaining six perfections. So remaining among the six perfections, the perfection of the wisdom. So this is to say the Bodhisattvas has attained on this ground the level of absorptions that can never be trodden up on by such opposing force as a distraction. And this extent of the mastery in lacking for the perfection of the wisdom and the rest. So, tozi, trodden. So no one can mislead you or misguide you. No one can step up on you. Right? So compared to that, it pretty much says that we are always being stepped, used, right? So the directions. So not only does the Bodhisattvas become superior in the meditative absorptions, he also gained mastery in the refined understanding of the nature or essence of the truth of wise. So it's namely the Aryas, truth of Aryas. Understanding that require comprehension through the refined intellect. Therefore, here he become endowed with superior wisdom, versed in the coarse and subtle aspect of the truth. So I think this is like, these Bodhisattvas, when they understand the dependent originations in a very, refined, refined, right? Yeah. So, and they, they enjoy, it kind of, for them is very much pleasurable, thrilling to, in contemplating, in the in the conventional. So right now, for ordinary people, more be involved in conceiving and engaging in the conventional reality, and there's more chances to be attached and detached, right, and get jealous. So this Bodhisattva, because of their the power of the wisdoms, more they involve, more they engage, more they find, more they hear the informations, that all become the fuel to increases their wisdom. Right? So I think that means so the 10th ground sutra says that the 5th ground Bodhisattvas comes to be versed in Four Noble Truths of this truth of suffering, its origin, cessation, and the path. And separately, it also says that he come to be versed in conventional and ultimate truth. So this raised the questions how there can be four truths distinct from the true truth when it is clearly stated in the meaning of the Father and Son Sutra, as well as Nagarjuna's fundamental wisdom, that the number of the truth is exhausted within the division of the true truth. So every phenomena, every object kind of comes to end in the true truth, right? Either conventional truth or ultimate truth. There is no third truth, right? So even the Four Noble Truths, truth of suffering, truth of origin of suffering, and the path that lead to the liberations are all conventional truth. The cessations here, considered in the Prasangic school, is the ultimate truth. And the other school of thought, they don't really accept cessation is ultimate truth. They still think cessation is conventional truth. So, and so here we're trying to find the reason why this fifth ground had mentioned that he mastered in the Four Noble Truth, and then separately saying he also mastered in True Truth. Why? Right? Because the Four Noble Truths is including within the True Truth. So to respond to these questions, Chandrakirti commentary confirms that there is no truth not encompassed within the True Truth. The four truths, the Four Noble Truths, he explains were taught to demonstrate. So what is to be relinquished? The class of afflicted phenomena includes their origin, the cause, the suffering, the effect, and what is to be affirmed. The class of enlightened phenomena include the path, the cause. The path to liberation is the cause. Cessation is effect. Of these, the commentary state that truth of suffering is origin and the path belong to the conventional truths, while the truth of cessations belongs to the ultimate truth. So they're saying the separating Four Noble Truths and the True Truth is Four Noble Truths it indicates the cause and effect. The Four Noble Truths, you understand the origin of suffering are the cause, the suffering is the effect, and the path is the cause, the cessation is the effect. So when it explained to the True Truth, it's not talking about the cause and effect. Is the reality that projected or is held by two perceptions, conventional perceptions and ultimate perceptions.
So if the other school doesn't accept the cessation as the ultimate truth, the other schools, what is the ultimate truth for them?
Ultimate truth is emptiness is ultimate truth.
And they separate the emptiness and cessation. So
this is they were saying the ultimate truth means ultimately what is true is the empty of truly existence. So negation element of the ultimate truth always known to be non-existent. Right. So the cessation by through the path and having having abandoned, right? Abandoned or removing the afflictive emotion is the cessations. So negation element is not a non-existing. Afflictive emotions are existence. So the ultimate truth, the negation element has to be non-existent. Right. So this is why the minority school, medieval autonomous school, Sudandika school, so they all think. I'm not sure Sudandika, the minority school, they think it's a conventional truth. Cessation is. Like, so how's that? Affirmative and negative. Affirmative means affirmative there, and like impermanence, the sufferings, right? And negative, right? So it's like, when you say there is no pot on this table, no pot on the table. So what is negating the pot that exists on the table. So negation element is become the pot. Pot is generally exist. Right? And when you say, how's that? This donkey has no, no horn. So what is negating is the horn of the donkey. So the donkey horn is non-existent. So, and also said, this monk do not drink wine, as in negating the wine. Wine is exist. Right? So these are, negative kind of, relatively negative phenomena. So the emptiness, means what you are emptying, is not like no pot, right? So it's emptying that is your, you think that exists out of misconceptions. So in reality, that thing that you are emptying is not exist, but you are out of misconceptions. We think, we see things do exist truly. Yeah, this is a little bit debatable. Respond to the question, Chandrakirti comment. Yeah, this is. So in his commentary to 60 stanzas of the reasoning, Chandrakirti, right? Chandrakirti explained the nirvana to be the ultimate truth, and other three truths out of four as a conventional truth. The nirvana here referred to the truth of cessation. Furthermore, in this commentary to 60 stanzas of the reasoning, Chandrakirti points out how the Buddha accepts the possibility of the direct knowledge of the truth of cessations. So that many times in the sutra, Buddha claimed that the cessation should be actualized, perceived, and experienced. And also in the Four Noble Truth Sutras, this, you have gained the eye of the cessations. You have gained the wisdom of the cessations. So which means the Buddha accept that cessations can be directly perceived. Right. So the possible direct knowledge of the truth of cessations and how this would be untenable for the Buddhists, the essentialists who assert direct valid cognition to possess as their object things endowed with the intrinsic characteristic. So here the Lama Tsongkapha in this saying that so this is what Buddha's explicitly mentioned cessation to actualize, cessation to directly perceive. So now it's referring to the Sotanic school and mind-only schools. So you guys believe things do exist intrinsically, right? So when you think that things intrinsically exist, so the cessation, right? Cessation is the kind of abandonment of the afflictive emotions, abandonment of afflictive emotions. So how can you, in Sotanic school, they think when you say when your eye consciousness perceive the table is empty, by that eye consciousness, if someone asks, do you see the cup on the table? Right? And with my eye consciousness, I say, no, there is no cup on the table. So the Sudandika school thinks what is directly perceiving is empty table. So indirectly, what understands no cup. In another, with this, someone asks, do you see the spoon? And I said, no spoon. So all indirectly realize by directly perceiving the empty table. So the Sudandika school thinks no cup, no spoon, right? These are conceptually constructed phenomena. It cannot be directly perceived, right? These to realize, you have to go directly perceive something objective, right? So when you think this way, and how can you understand the Buddha when he mentioned that the no afflictive emotions, right? The end of afflictive emotions, kind of the abandonment of the afflictive emotions. So how can you understand this can be directly perceived? You even not knowing that the no cup is not directly perceived, is indirectly perceived by perceiving the empty table. When you see the ground, there's the empty ground, right? And you have to understand there's no horse, no cow, right? These are kind of, so indirectly realize, known through by directly perceiving something objective. So for school of the Sudandika school of thought, the mind-only school, and they cannot really kind of literally follows the Buddhist statement. So Buddha saying cessation is directly perceived, and the Four Noble Truths gaining eye of the cessation. So eye of the cessation is the eye which is looking at the color. In a similar way, you gain the wisdom that directly kind of focusing or directly experiencing that the cessation of the afflictive emotion. Yeah. Cessation, how would be untenable Buddhist essentialists who assert direct valid cognition is to possess their object things endowed with the intrinsic characteristic. In his own traditions, the Chandrakirti established the understanding of the how cessation is directly known in terms of realization of suchness by the uncontaminated nuances of meditative equipoise. So Chandrakirti, as the Prasangika school, says, yes, we accept that cessation is, can be directly perceived, directly experienced. So now it's saying that while you are meditating the emptiness of the consciousness, so through that power of the meditations and kind of gradually and kind of removing the afflictive emotions, weakening them, reducing them, and then finally remove. And what is that antidote that really removing the processing and kind of working on removing the afflictive emotion is the wisdom that directly perceiving the emptiness. And then while you are meditating the emptiness, you can experience when the afflictive emotions is totally eliminated, and you also see emptiness with great peace by pacifying all afflictive emotions. That that very kind of, the meditative equipoise, what they directly perceive as emptiness with cessation. So the Prasangika schools, that is the cessation, right? So this meditative equipoise has the emptiness itself is before you have overcome afflictive emotions, or with cessation afflicted emptiness, not always the same. But when you meditate in emptiness, you will gain special kind of unique peace. Right? Sometimes, I think, for example, sometimes when people are a little bit mentally distracted and disturbed, and they always try to find to to overcome that, they go to ocean or to the mountains. And while they're staying there, at first the emotional still there's some kind of playing around, and you more and more you focus on the kind of the blue oceans. Just your mind is kind of constantly and kind of focusing or being I think remaining in that the object, and that kind of is little by little it reduces that kind of disturbance emotion, and then you will say the peace, right? So it's similar. From the beginning, they're meditating the emptiness, and at that time, there's some impact, influence of the afflictive emotion there, and continuously meditating. The object has never changed, but the kind of throughout the process, now it's succeeding in the defeating the afflictive emotions. Right? The cessation means that cessation is is a combination of the emptiness of the mind, which has as the characteristic of no afflictive emotions and no afflictive emotions. So this is the Prasangika school. Nirvana, cessations, liberations are the same thing. So therefore, the cessation is the ultimate truth. So if the cessation were the conventional truths, such presentation would would become utterly untenable. So directly perceiving this, right? Untenable. Furthermore, the Chandrakirti repeatedly endeavors to establish the necessity of direct realization of the truth of suchness. When nirvana is actualized, so when nirvana is actualized, you are directly perceiving the emptiness with the cessation of afflictive emotion. So therefore, to speak of the truth of cessation as the conventional truth would indicate an incomplete analysis. Now, although the negation of truth, true existence, negation of the true existence, the object of negation on the given basis is defined as the ultimate truth. This does not entail that object of negations of whatever constitute the ultimate truth is necessary. So although you say emptiness means ultimate truth, or emptiness is the empty of intrinsic existence in the Prasangika school, and minority school, empty of truly existing with imputation of a factor, right? So, so as the negation elements, the negation generally does not exist. And here, so Prasangika school is saying that every negations, every negative phenomena, negative object, negation element, not necessarily every negative I don't know, it's negative, affirmative and negative. Right? So within the, among the affirmative and negative, so negative, not necessarily negation element has to be non-exist. So, and then here I think says, and then necessarily exists. For example, the praise to the ultimate expense states, Nagarjuna, that which, if not known, makes one revolve in the three worlds, that which definitely abide in all beings, to that ultimate expense I bow and pay homage. So here Nagarjuna say, I'm paying homage. I have shown my kind of, respect to the ultimate nature that exists in every sentient beings. Well, sentient beings cycle in samsara because not knowing that nature. And someone who has successfully and freedom from the suffering or cyclic existence because of knowing that. Right? So that very ultimate natures, I bow, I pay homage. So now, so do you, Nagarjuna's paying homage during the prostration to the emptiness, right? So why do you need to do the prostration to the emptiness? Do emptiness recognize your faith in him? So that here the faith and kind of, kind of the value, kind of, what's that? The faith, so you can have faith and the and origin of suffering and the suffering. The relation, unshakable relation of the attachment and the suffering. Right? Unshakable relation with the grasping a self and the cyclic existence. So you can have faith in them because this is one of the Arya truth. So do you, because you have faith in them, do you prostrate, do you pay homage to the suffering and the origin of suffering or their relations? Right. So because this is not really, because when you have faith, it's not necessarily, having faith is not necessarily you have interested in them. Right? You are like them. You have faith that without this air you cannot survive. Right? So you have faith in the relations. You have faith without space you cannot build anything. Right? So it's not necessary you have like them. Right? So faith means you find that's true. So now here Nagarjuna is paying homage not just because of it is true, because this is the what when the mind finds this is like a diamond that is hidden for a long, long time, and people not finding it become poor and finding it become rich, right? So this ultimate nature of the consciousness. So Nagarjuna said, this is the very important. Just by simply being kind of understanding, meditating on it, actualizing, experiencing, that brings the peace. So I pay homage, I respect, I bow to the ultimate nature. And ultimately the Buddha means, right? The Buddha, actual Dhammakaya Buddha is the nature of the consciousness, which is free from the stain of the afflictive emotion. Right? That is the Dhammakaya. That makes the Buddha. Right? I bow to bow and pay homage. That which is the cause of samsara, from purifying this very thing comes the purity that is nirvana. Dharmakaya too is this. So very the emptiness of your mind, is kind of finding that, or kind of that, the finding that nature of the mind, ultimate nature of the mind, is the kind of gateway to the liberations, nirvana. This is the only gate. There's no 2, 3 gates. There's one gate. So, so this very emptiness that you find from the beginning, and continuously meditating, kind of having interest, and analyze, contemplate, and abiding on it, it frees your mind from the afflictive emotions. So I think that's the Prasangas who, with the nature, is pointing at nature, the ultimate nature of the mind. The state at which ultimate nature of things, the tainted with the stain, is purified. State states that when the ultimate nature of things, tainted with stain, is purified, that the constitute the nirvana and dharmakaya. Similarly, there are numerous instances in the text when the object of negation in the context of pristine, the ultimate reality, is described as a stain. So negation in the context of the pristine ultimate reality is described as a stain, chima. Now, if it were impossible for the ultimate nature of things to become the free of the stain, so as the endeavor would then be pointless. So sometimes we call Rangshin. Sometimes this what they say is transcendence of suffering. Transcendence of suffering. So sometimes this term that used to kind of for the emptiness, transcends. So what is nyangele deva, rangshin nyangele deva. So emptiness is also sometimes nature of transcendence of suffering. Right. So this stain could be misconceptions. Now, if it were impossible for the ultimate nature to become free from the stains, endeavor would be pointless. If on the other hand, it is possible, then this implies that its object negation does have an existence and is knowable. So this is analogous to the following example: the rabbit's horn, which is the object of negation in the context of the phrase, the non-existence of the rabbit horn does not exist as a knowable, yet one can still possess with absence of the vase. So whose object of negations, as a vase, does exist in general as a knowable, an instance, as an instance of that non-existing of the rabbit horn. So kind of, so empty table, right? Empty table, which is absence of rabbit horn. So this kind of, you're trying to kind of, so trying to prove that the cessation, Prasangika schools, sometimes like, desperately. So cessation is the ultimate truth, Prasangika school. And the cessation is the ultimate truth, but the cessation is the cessation itself, because it is cessations, and negation element would be two. One is the misconceptions, right? Grasping itself. And then another thing is the object that are apprehended by misconceptions. So the cessation is kind of mere absence of the intrinsic, the property, and empty of the misconceptions that grasping at the intrinsic existence. So this is what they want to say. So cessation of the afflictive emotions are ultimate truth. And so negation element, there's a two negation element. One negation element, object that are apprehended by the misconception, and misconception itself. Right? So setting the example, empty table with absence of rabbit horn. So empty table means the empty table of the vase. So the vase is the one of the negation element, and rabbit horn. So rabbit horn is which does not exist. Because the wisdom realizing emptiness is emptying two things. Wisdom realizing emptiness is emptying two things. One is emptying the emptying the intrinsic existence, intrinsic nature. And second, so wisdom realizing is emptying afflictive emotion, pacifying afflictive emotion, emptying intrinsic nature. Right. So the mind that is the very mind that is continuously kind of just abiding in the emptiness, when this mind experiences, right, a cessation of the afflictive emotions, when this mind experiences the peace through the pacifying all the afflictive emotions. So what mind is directly perceiving, the Prasanga school said, this is the cessation.
The cessation of the afflictive emotions be a byproduct of the cessation of intrinsic existence. So if your mind is seeing the lack of intrinsic existence, would it, the afflicted emotions, the lack of that be a byproduct of the first?
Yeah, I think you can say byproduct. By meditating emptiness and byproduct, you don't need any separate effort to remove the afflictive emotions. Just simply negate intrinsic natures, meditate on emptiness. That is the kind of single path. This will do removing, purifying, overcoming, right?
So was that a different school? I was talking about
Different school, they think that no afflictive emotions, they think this is like, a table which is absence of the vast, right? Say table's absence of cup, table's absence of book. So the absence of book is understood or realized through the directly perceiving the empty table. So they always think that no afflictive emotions is like no pot, no cup. So this to realize is reliance on something, the objective that you're directly perceiving, because by no book, no cup, by itself is not really perceivable directly. As no single in a single object, as a single object cannot be perceived, realized by any perception. So no book is understood. Where is no book? Right. So the Swatantrika school, minority school, they think that this is no afflictive emotions, abandonment of anger, attachment. This is like no book, no cup. Right. These cannot be perceived by any direct perceptions in a single kind of object. And it's always realized by depending on something else. So which means mind which is free from afflictive emotions is like a table with no cup. So this is, there is some kind of common locus. So this is my mind, and this is my mind. These are the afflictive emotions. Now these afflictive emotions no longer here. Right? When you see the cat standing on the table, and then you remove the cat, and so now this table is no cat. Right? So it's kind of something objective, like defining the common locus of no afflictive emotion and some affirmative object joined together, understood, cessation. Right? So this is like when you very ordinarily perceiving, like you say, oh, this man is very tall and pointing at him, and now to understand he is tall, and you just, because there's the short one. So this is the tall. So you have the kind of, affirmative, the basis to measure how is he tall or short. So it's similar, and then here the Swatantra school thing, consciousness is the basis to find where there is no afflictive emotion or there is afflictive emotions. Right. So this is the Swatantra school, mind-only school things. That's why it's a common locus. So these are conventional truth. So this mind I can experience now. Now I have no anger, right? So just experiencing consciousness and then find now there is no anger, right? So this is like, these are kind of, conventional means is the conceptually, constructing two things together, and you understood, you name one thing. Just by mind, you just say, oh, this is just kind of, just by experiencing the mind, right? It's not necessarily there is no anger, there is no anger, attachment, jealousy, and experience your consciousness and find, is there anger or jealousy or something? No jealousy, right? No angers. So these are the common locus, kind of, finding two things combined together, giving a name of the cessations. So that's why Swatantra school and the mind-only school thinks that cessation is a conventional. Right? So now Prasangic school say it's not a conventional truth. So cessation is the ultimate truth, is nothing but emptiness itself, is emptiness of the consciousness, right? And so then you can question, if emptiness of the mind is itself is the cessations, and does that mean from the beginning everyone has the emptiness of the consciousness? So everyone has the cessation? So the Prasangic says, no. The emptiness, kind of, which is directly perceiving or directly experiencing and finding peace to be pacifying the afflictive emotions. That emptiness, that is the cessation. For example, this is, what is the past of the Saturday? Does it exist or not exist? The past of the Saturday. If the past of the Saturday, it exists within the Saturday or after the Saturday. After the Saturday, past of the Saturday, it exists in the Sunday, right? And who can see Saturday is being passing in Sunday? So, the yogurt is the kind of result of the passing the milk, state of milk. So the passing of the milk, is it kind of, conceivable within the yogurt or not? No. So which means the pass of the Saturday or the pass of the milk, state of milk, is unconceivable or is it conceivable? Conceivable, right? So how do you conceive? Right? Finding it had exist, right? The milk, state of milk had exist, no longer being found to be existing kind of during the state of yogurt. And then you just named it path of the milk. So this path of the milk is a conceptually constructed. So therefore, objectively, if you try to pinpoint, there's no way you can find. So it's similar. This is like the very nature of the mind, the emptiness of the mind itself, right? And somehow you experience within the emptiness of the consciousness, you experience great peace, something sustainable, durable peace through pacification of afflictive emotions. And that's how you named it, is the cessation. Right? If you try to find cessation itself, is the emptiness just by that is cessation? No. Right. So you see, so to actualize, to directly experience the cessations, you have to experience the cessation through the emptiness, without touching, without experiencing emptiness, no cessation could be found. So here Lama Tsongkapha says, table with no cup is the negation, that is the negative phenomena, which has the negation element still exists in general. The cup exists. No rabbit horns, and the rabbit horn no way you can find. It's not noble object, right? So you can also combine together, right? This empty table, right? Empty table with no rabbit horn. So this is kind of, you say, they're trying to explain that what is the cessation, how do you really name it, the cessation? So, yeah.
Sometimes to make the intrinsic I with, it's like similar to rabbit horn, that it doesn't exist.
Huh?
Yeah, they're kind of similar. An intrinsic I is non-existent, just like the horn of a rabbit.
Yeah.
That was something. So I was actually thinking of that question earlier in terms of, like, for example, I can picture a rabbit with horns and know the picture in my head, but that's not knowing. You see, you get it.
Yeah.
That's what confuses me, because it seems like I can know that image, or I can know that concept of a rabbit with horns. So how is it not? Yeah. Yeah.
So you can imagine human with tail, right? So, but the imagination of the human with tail is imaginations. This is a conceptually constructed phenomena. Now, so what you're trying to, by imagining that, what you're trying to say, how do you verbalize? You say, oh, there's a man with tail. So I imagine. You cannot go with that. So the imagining itself is the existing, but the kind of the actual object, the imaginations, not exist. Right. So a knowable object does not mean because you can imagine, so therefore it's knowable object. So knowable means you can something provable, something you can establish, something you can proving to be existing. It's a noble object.
And that still follows the prasanga because
Yeah.
that
But you don't say, I know there's a human with tail. Every human being has tail. Right? So if you say, how can you know? I can imagine. Right? Just by being able to imagine is not knowing. So nobles sometimes say, in the Tibetan the debate, they say, nobles, noble of what? So then says valid cognitions. Right. So something noble to the valid cognition is the noble. This is the definition, how to define that. Right. So, so valid cognition, through the valid cognition, you can know the past of the Saturday and coming of the Monday. There is the reason to prove it. But now the coming of the Monday, it is Monday somewhere waiting to become? No. And you say today is the Sunday is going to end. Right? Any hour of the Sunday's morning, it is transferring, it is going to the future. No, every hour is disintegrating. So every hour of the Sunday is disintegrating. How can you say that Sunday is going towards Monday? Right? But so you say here, conventional. Ordinarily we say Sunday has to go, and therefore Monday is coming. So concept of Sunday going, right, is because of the construct that coming on the Monday, not because of the within the Sunday, within the Sunday, there's some hour or the time is going. Not because of that. Because you have projected Monday is coming, that makes you think Sunday is going. So this is, you can apply it, I'm going to next life, right? If I die, I will go next life. So what is the going? Right? To go, you have to exist. So do you go to next life by being existing? Without existing, you cannot go. Right? So this life is constant because the every instant disintegrating. It is designed to end, right? So it's designed to end is disintegrating. And by disintegrating, and what makes it go? So this life is going to next life, right? Every part of this life, right, is going to next life. It's just conceptually constructed because of the possibility of coming with next life. And when you say the coming with next life, it's because of the concept of this life is going. Right? The coming is not like, a next life is somewhere hidden. So it just opens small doors. Is my time? Can I come now? No, there's like. So nothing is intrinsic property by, it's a dependent arising. Something you construct that makes something to be to be known in the mind.
So catching up earlier, you were saying with the table, that was absence of cup, And then you were also saying absent of the rabbit horn. So were you saying Chandrakirti mixes those up, or because one is a knowable object and one isn't, right? From what you just said, like that cup, absence of cup in the table is knowable because cup exists, and then the absence of a rabbit, or I guess rabbit with horn, does not exist and not pointable, so it's not knowable to a valid.
So no cup, no rabbit horns. So no cup. So negation, what is negating? No cup. Cup is negating. Right? And you are not negating in general. You are negating on a particular particular, I would say, base, right? Like a table or house or something. So, so no cup is the negation element always exists, right? So this can be related to the no afflictive emotions, no delusions. These no cup are the same. So negation element is generally it exists. So now no rabbit horn means now rabbit horn is a negation element, but it does not exist in general. No intrinsic phenomena. So intrinsic phenomena is the object of negation. So that does not exist in general. The Siddhantic school hard to understand is cessations is only understood or known through no delusions, not by anything intrinsic. Cessations, abandonment means something that is within the mind before, now through applying the antidote, it has pushed, it's removed. So the Siddhantic school and the mind-only school, they think this is why like 1 + 1, 2, right? So join together. So this mind now no afflictive emotions. That is the cessation. So it's very conventional. Like this tree is tall. So when you cut other trees, they're taller than them, and you say, now this is the tallest. Right? So there's something affirmative things to measure a tall, to be labeled short or tall. So the mind, there is the mind, and to label, because this mind with no afflictive emotions is the cessations.
That makes it the conceptual.
Yeah,
ultimate.
this empty table and no cup joined together, right? No cup. So the Prasangika school is the Prasangika school, so the cessations, it's not conventional. So in the Four Noble Truths, the Buddha says, have you gained the I? Have you gained the eyes? In the Four Noble Truths, have you gained the I? Because have you gained the knowledge? Have you gained the wisdoms? Right? So the I means I to see what? I to see the cessations. So this sutra, this is the cessation is directly preceded by the wisdom realizing emptiness. If the cessation is conventional, so if the conventional phenomena cannot be directly perceived through the ultimate knowledge. We're soon realizing emptiness is not directly perceiving the conventional truth. So Prasanga goes, this is how Buddha says, right? Cessation to actualize, cessation to experience. So, and for you, according to this line, you cannot really tell that cessation can be actualized, cessation can be directly experienced. Because you are saying the cessation is like no pot, no cow, no money. So cessation is like that. Right? So the Prasangic school says that cessation is not. Cessations kind of, having, and generally afflictive emotions cease. It's not like, doing the laundry and when the machine washes the clothes and the dirt comes, right? And dirt then you throw out. Again, you rinse again and then you throw out. So afflictive emotion, there's nowhere to throw. You cannot just anger here, attachment, someone step on your anger. So someone mistakenly to eat or so there is no afflictive emotion to go. Right? There's no place to afflictive emotion to go or to move. This is like, for example, when you at the corner of your room or your house in the evening, like at 7 o'clock, and like the 7 or 8 o'clock, and you find there's the coiled rope, and you just think, oh, maybe there's the snake. There's the rattlesnake, and then it brings generates the fear, right, and some disturbance. So this disturbance is the is the reality. Is the reality. The way the removing this fear and the disturbance is just going closer to the rope, knowing there is no snake. This is just a rope. So the fear or fear and believing there is the snake, it will disappear within the mind. So the Prasangic school says, your cessation is like no pot, no money, no cup. So, right? So there is, but you can, linguistically, you can say removing afflictive emotions, purifying afflictive emotions, right? But there is no intrinsic things to overcome and to remove. It just dissolves back to the mind, right? So, this, yeah. So the afflictive emotion, the cessation of the afflictive emotions, the way the afflictive emotion cease or remove or purify is within the emptiness of the consciousness. It's all dissolved back to the emptiness. All arises from the emptiness, right? So all arises from the emptiness means by misconceiving, misinterpreting, and then you make, even there's nothing, and then you make something out of it. So when you go closer to the nature of the mind, you find there is nothing. There is no solid target at all. So the very nature of the ultimate nature of the emptiness is where you see all the afflictive emotions are dissolved, all the afflictive emotions as purified. Right? Without emptiness of the mind, without emptiness, you cannot see the purification. So Prasangika school said, yeah, so that's the cessation is through actualizing the emptiness of the mind, and additional, and why you say this emptiness is the cessation, because at that time you experience the great peace through pacifying all afflictive emotions.
We're talking here about recognizing we're not really talking about an absence. How can I put this? We're talking about recognizing the nature of appearance. And appearance is appearance. Whereas conventionally speaking, there's appearances that are conventionally accepted, but we call them real. But we're saying fundamentally, all experience is an appearance, and there's no solid foundation to it.
Yeah. So the appearance is undeniable exist. So for example, when you see there's a kind of light or the brightness, and you, because of the looking at the brightness, you can see somewhere it's a little dark. Right? When you're looking at the dark, you can see somewhere it's a little brighter there. So these are the appearance. So appearance are the reality. This reality is not because the phenomena by themselves, right? It's because of your perceptions. When your perceptions changes, kind of moving around, and you see things, so many objects, and when you see so many, when you start seeing so many objects, and the problem is now your thought and want to fixate on one thing. So the fixating on those objects that is just swinging, and you just fixate, you find this is the solid target. So that's how it starts the misconception. Because there is nothing to be fixated, because nothing standing still. So as I mentioned earlier, here's the benefit from the understanding of dependent arising. Dependent arising, understanding dependent arising helps you to free from fear, right? So free from fear means the fear comes from solid, the target. Emptiness is emptying the solid target. So that's the emptiness helps you to free from the fear, and knowing things are always dependent arising, right? Relatively existing. So that helps you to not fixate, because this can be changed to that, this can be changed to that, right? So not fixate. Fear, kind of, keeping your mind from the fear and not fixated. And then that because of these two, no fear, no fixations, and that gives you the courage to continue to walk on, right? The encouragement or the confidence. Yeah. Have I read all? Have I finished reading all? Oh. So we are on the non-existent rabbit hole. So from the point of view of ultimate nature, things that pervades all phenomena, both pure and impure, this is indeed defined in the terms of negation of the true kind of self. So the, how's that, intrinsic I and intrinsic self phenomena, where what is negated has no existence in the reality at all, however, as a given basis, becomes the progressively more purified of stain. Its ultimate nature too becomes the, what's that, progressively more purified, and therefore, for certain special type of basis, it is inadequate to leave its purity only one side. Its purity must also include the purification of the relevant adventitious stain, and it is thus it is this the that called ultimate cessations. So many times mentions in the 10 ground sutras contains the word truth in them, such as being versed in the truth of the defining characteristic on this ground, and among these there is none that is not encompassed within the true truths. This includes exposition of the fifth ground of the ultimate awakening mind, the illuminating intent, the expositions entering in the middle way. So, yeah, to emptying the true kind of self, the true self means the intrinsic I and the intrinsic self of phenomena. So when you empty these two, and by emptying the two intrinsic self, which are never exist, by emptying it, and it also helps you to kind of remove the stain, which is misconception that you're grasping at its true self. Right? So this is like if you prove someone, right, someone's if you prove what the person has said is not true, you prove that is lie, and you prove that person is liar, right? So what he says is you prove that is not true, and then that also proves he has been lying. So similar, when you empty the intrinsic phenomena, and you also kind of reducing or awakening on misconceptions, that is grasping at intrinsic phenomena. Right? So you know this is not true. Intrinsic nature is not true, which means misconceptions of the true I are deceptive. So it's always two things doing. It's not like negating one negation element. Yeah, growth. Now, ground 5 is finished. All the complicates comes from the 6, ground 6. I think the main thing they're always trying to kind of lead you to understand the phenomena, right? The phenomena of the entities. They just they don't exist by themselves. It's just made up to be existing relatively. You made something and something happened to you. And that happened to you, you made another. That made another things. So your mind has so much habit of constructing, projecting, and being trapped in those projections. Right. So in order for a mind to free from this trap, and you have to understand or convince the mind this whole conventional reality is mere projections. Right? So I think that's the kind of Bodhisattva subdue your mind thoroughly means. So way subduing thoroughly means by doing the prostrations, is it helping you to subdue? Yeah. Recitation, yes. Meditation, yes. Right? And then there's so many things, the generosities, the moralities, and so many things. The thorough, the kind of subduing mind is only through the dependent arising. Because the root of the samsara, root of the cyclic existence, is the misconception, the grasping the true self. So yeah, right now we are protesting the misconception. So then we really walk on banging on those doors. Capitol building. So I think that's kind of intellectual understanding and contemplating, and then single pointed, and then perfecting the wisdom. I think almost for sure, if you really kind of, little bit touches this profound nature of the dependent originations, it would kind of, there's a tremendous change. So almost no kind of, what do you call it? We have many times we get kind of annoyed, kind of, disturbed without having any reason. Right. So these are completely stopped by kind of, just by maybe a minute or 2 minute understanding dependent origination. Sometimes I don't know, I don't want to talk. So I don't know, I don't want to talk. So anyway, yeah. Chanju simjo rinpoche, majeba na jeju, jeba nyamba, mewa ya, kone kondo, konye tawa rinpoche, majeba na jeju, jeba nyamba, mewa ya, kone kondo, pama simjen tamjen, deda deju, yendo tamje tato to, chanju simba kanda sujube, deda kunji, monum jumji ruchi, karera weko beshima, pendan dewa marun jowa, ni jere sama, ten jafi, shabe sude madu ten ruchi.
May the precious body mind not yet born rise and grow. May the bond have no decline but increase forevermore. May the precious mind realizing emptiness not yet born arise and grow. May the bond have no decline but increase forevermore. Due to all these merits, may all Father and Mother sentient beings have all their happiness, and may all lower realms be empty forever. Wherever there are Bodhisattvas, may all their prayers be accomplished. In the sacred land surrounded by snow mountains, You are the source of all benefit and happiness, more powerful transcendent universe. Remain in this world until samsara ends.
Thank you very much. Thank you.